Supernanny Jo Frost shares devastating health issue. Hello friends, welcome to my channel. For the latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. Jo Frost has addressed a serious medical condition she endures, which requires her to approach life cautiously. Although the TV Supernanny said she won't apologize for her diagnosis, she encouraged others to learn more about it. I've survived more anaphylactic shocks than I'm prepared to go into detail about right now, the 54-year-old said in a heartfelt Instagram video. I have anaphylaxis, a life-threatening medical condition to certain foods that will compromise my body so horrifically to the point of hospitalization. Absolute millions of my community around the world, children and adults, live cautiously and anxiously navigating this journey with not nearly enough compassion, education, and empathy from those who do not. Today, everyone will know someone or someone who knows of one with anaphylaxis. If you ignore the severity of this medical condition, it's as bad as shoving a loaded gun in my face. As Jo suggests, anaphylaxis is a severe allergic reaction that can be life-threatening and usually happens rapidly. It typically begins within minutes of coming into contact with an allergen such as food, insect bites, or medication. Common symptoms of anaphylaxis include tongue or throat swelling, breathing or swallowing difficulties, wheezing, and dizziness. Some people have also experienced their skin, tongue, or lips turning pale, gray, or blue in certain cases. Explained. What triggers this is individual to you, and it's down to your immune system and genetics to determine whether you're allergic to something or not, and if you are, how severe that reaction is. You can also develop allergies over time due to exposure to common causes like dust or animal hair. Jo mentioned that the risks of anaphylaxis impact her daily routine, demanding significant effort to stay cautious and alert. However, she emphasized that things would be much simpler if others had a better understanding of her condition. In the past few weeks, parents around the world have found themselves not only in the role of caretaker, but teacher as well. Add to that the social distancing requirements from most local governments and little interaction with people outside the home, and parenting can start too. Jennifer Berenstock is a mother of 3 who screamed at her kids, spanked them, and washed their mouths out with soap to get them to behave. Despite all of that, her kids were still out of control, and Berenstock was at the end of her rope. Although Berenstock turned to Supernanny for help, she was still resistant at first. She told Frost, "I spank. I yell. That's me." But Frost was able to help this harried mom to reconsider whether she could change. She said that getting Berenstock to change was a matter of training her to control her anger. Berenstock also had to revisit her own childhood and understand why the only method she had for dealing with her kids was anger. She was a young mother who'd been raised in a certain way, Frost said. She didn't have a functional relationship with her own mother, and I came in as a friend and gave her confidence. Frost says that all parents can benefit from the lessons Berenstock learned. Your kids are acting up, you're boiling with rage, and you feel ready to hit your child. What do? Frost says that hitting or not hitting your kids is a choice. You're probably not out of control. Berenstock thought that hitting and shouting was who she was. But it wasn't. When she decided not to do it, she stopped. Think of the bigger picture. Be the audience, not the player. A new baby in a family is a recipe for sibling rivalry, especially when you have a toddler. Frost says it's important to let older children get actively involved with a new baby as early as possible, so they can have a sense of belonging and can bond with the new sibling. Though it might be difficult to find the time while caring for a new baby, it's important to set aside time alone with the older child. The idea of doing things together as a family should start right away. So, if the mother has to feed the baby at dinner time or at her toddler's bedtime, she shouldn't go off to another room and do it. She should sit at the table, so you're all having dinner together. Or when you're reading to your toddler, have your baby there, too. A lot of mothers make the mistake of going off and doing too much with the baby alone, which makes the toddler feel abandoned. Keep everybody involved, and you'll go a long way toward keeping yourself and your family happy. And although she is no longer known as Supernanny, Frost is still driving around America, helping troubled families sort out their misbehaving children. We first heard of Jo Frost way back in 2004 when the reality TV show Supernanny launched and quickly became a pop culture phenomenon. loved and loathed by parents and non-parents the world over and turning Frost into a star of spin-offs, book deals, and live tours. Like a cross between Mary Poppins and a Bond villain, Frost used her 27 years of experience as a nanny with tried and tested techniques to sort out children who continually tested their parents' patience. But not all parents and parenting experts are fans of Frost due to her regimented approach to parenting, with phrases like, "that behavior is unacceptable," and her use of the so-called naughty step not sitting well with those who prefer a more laid-back approach to raising kids. The naughty step technique works by picking a spot in your house, a chair, a stool, a corner, a rug, a mat, or a step. You need to explain to your children the purpose of the step, and then next time they are being naughty, you're meant to give them a warning that if they don't change their behavior, they will be placed on the naughty step. If they don't change their behavior, you pick them up, place them on the step, explain why they are there, and inform them you'll be back soon for an apology. Daniel J. Siegel, MD, and Tina Payne Bryson, Ph.D. have written a book to this effect called in which they explain their belief that timeout techniques aren't effective and are potentially damaging to children and the parent-child relationship because the focus is on punishment, not on addressing the reason behind the behavior. After spending a few days observing the family, recording segments with which to shame the parents later, and deciding on all the things they were doing wrong, Jo Frost and her poison Sharpie would let loose on a massive whiteboard which would be mounted in the kitchen of the home. On that whiteboard, Supernanny would have decided on a routine for your family down to the very last minute. Almost everything was scheduled, even eating and definitely sleeping, and there was very little flexibility. Critics of Frost's regimented schedule say that by overscheduling children, you are removing their opportunity for the boredom that inspires imaginative play, relaxation, and creativity. Alvin Rosenfeld, a child and adolescent. Most families featured on the show had at least one child who was difficult to put to bed at night. Obviously, only having one child at the time, I figured he was it and attempted the Supernanny technique on him. Inevitably, the child would get up a few hundred times, and each time Jo Frost would sit and watch as the parent attempted to implement the technique by quietly picking their child up without cuddling them or soothing them in any way, plunk them back into their beds and walk out, doing it until the child simply gave up on getting up. Prefers parents to have a more natural response to the needs of their child and to respond lovingly to them to build their feeling of security, thus allowing them to eventually settle better at night. She says that way children will exhibit trust in their parents' responses to them. It's called the involvement technique, and basically it means getting your children involved in the actual shopping. Not a recipe for disaster at all. The idea was to stop the kids from getting bored and acting out. Mom just needs to write up a little shopping list for each of the kids and explaining before leaving that she needs their help to go shopping. As helpers who are busy and interested is that they will behave. Unfortunately, the novelty of this approach can quickly wear off and not all children will be interested. It's this one-size-fits-all approach to parenting by Jo Frost that doesn't sit well with and Corwin, Ph.D., who goes by the name. She feels Frost's advice to assume children are misbehaving in order to manipulate their parents is outdated and potentially harmful. She writes, "Kids want and need to feel close to their parents physically and emotionally. Mothers and fathers feel a very real connection with their kids, so when their kids hurt, the parents hurt. So, I wish the Supernanny would learn to stop minimizing the needs of parents and their healthy reactions to their kids' behaviors." Danny described his first meeting with Davidson as nerve-wracking. "It was a moment where I saw a person that's probably living with the pain of killing 4 children and giving one child brain damage," he said. "Putting my parent hat aside, I could see that he's living in a place of guilt." In Sunday night's Spotlight episode, Davidson reflected on that devastating day. "I started drinking, and I can't remember much," he said. "I'm not even sure why on earth we were driving. I just know that we ran the red light," he said. He described having no control of the car, taking a corner so fast that not even a professional race car driver could have pulled that off in a professional car. Davidson can trace his reliance on alcohol back to when he was 19 and his older sister passed away unexpectedly from an infection following a lung transplant for cystic fibrosis. "I think it got me a lot worse than I thought," he told Spotlight. Davidson's sister was the best. "When he lost her, the regular drinking began. I just hid behind the bottle. The drugs, they weren't a massive thing. I didn't do them very often, he said. But the drink, that was my biggest problem. Binge drinking on the weekend. Davidson believes he deserves every day of his sentence. I don't think I deserve that, he said of an early release. It was an accident and I didn't mean it, but I'm at fault and I've done that. He called Danny 1 in a million and an absolutely amazing man, saying, him even talking to me was a blessing. He keeps amazing me. He's just an incredible person and I just want to be everything like him. Today, Davidson spends up to 17 hours a day in his cell, which he fastidiously keeps clean. They're locked in from the early afternoon until the next morning.